a level deeper, what are the challenges that you are facing implementing?
It has been like a multiple layer kind of implementation for us to do POCs, show value, then do POCs in multiple areas and show value.
Generative AI capabilities are starting to step in and do things like summarization, right? Instead of a physician having to read hundreds of pages of medical records.
Welcome to the video podcast on healthcare. I am Vivek Gupta, Vice President Analytics and Factspan. As everybody knows, healthcare is undergoing a transformation, and our today's topic is right at the intersection of experience and technology, personalizing patient care through data and AI. Today, we have two distinguished leaders with us who are spearheading all these transformational programs in their organizations. We have Sha, who is the Chief Digital and Data Officer in Baptist. Baptist is the largest hospital chain of South Florida, serving 2 million plus patients annually through 11 hospitals and 100 plus urgent care centers. We have Vaibhav with us, who is the co-founder and CEO of Portea. Portea is an Indian company, one of the largest in this space, focused on home care to patients. They serve 700K plus patients annually in 100 plus cities in India. Thank you, Sha and Vaibhav, for being with us today. So before I deep dive into the primary topic today, I would like to start with the fundamentals. Why do you think personalization is important right now in healthcare? And then what trends have you observed in this space in last few years? It would be great, Sha, if we could start with you.
Sure, thank you. Let's review a little bit what personalized medicine is, right? So using things like genetic testing, looking for biomarkers, using big data, artificial intelligence, bringing all those types of things together to personalize a treatment plan for a patient or a particular condition. So that's how sort of my definition of personalized medicine. In that, I think we are seeing quite a bit of traction as in some areas, specifically cancer related, right? So there's already, whether it is breast cancer or a number of other categories, using genetic testing, people are starting to identify areas that allow physicians to then personalize treatment for that particular condition. And it is very successful. It's, I think, very broadly and widely adopted or being adopted now. There are other areas too, such as chronic disease management, type 2 diabetes come to mind, which is sort of that particular area or chronic disease management is perhaps in a little bit of, earlier in the life cycle. There are certainly physicians and providers working on those types of treatments for patients, but on the regulatory side, there is not as much clarity in terms of how those should be done. There is some concern about data privacy and those types of things as well. And then insurance providers don't seem to really have sort of well-defined plans, if you will, in terms of how they would pay for chronic disease management or personalized medicine and chronic disease management. So a little bit of a mixed bag, but oncology and cancer seems to be the area where it is being most widely used at this time.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you, Sha. Vaibhav, would love to hear your thoughts.
So I'll probably bring it up a little bit more India's perspective, how at least India, the digital and personalization have played out. And if you look at last, couple of decades, we started in mid-90s with satellite TV, right? And that from Doordarshan, it basically, we moved to having satellite and access to a lot of information available to us somewhere. Then of course you had the internet, which information started coming to you more personalized and basically more in your hands, right? And then of course mobile phones came and smartphones came, and the information came into your pockets, right? And I think what has happened with mobile phones, especially last 10, 12 years, even the other devices, all the point of care devices and all started coming and became a lot more personalized for consumers or patients, if you want to call that. So I would say in last 20 to 30 years, and healthcare of course always has been a laggard in terms of leveraging technology. mean, the last industry which enjoys the benefits of technology is healthcare. And other big change which we saw was during COVID, right? So COVID basically, this we always look at healthcare basically pre-COVID and post-COVID, and what everybody looked at during COVID, saying that how can you basically look at patients a lot more closely than what you have done. So if you see the healthcare scenario in India last 10-15 years, every ecosystem player is a lot more focused today on handling patients. So like 10 years back, the clinician was only the central point, right? Today, patient is equally important, right? Because now if you look at hospitals and pharmaceutical companies in India and even insurance and all, they are continuously looking at how to make healthcare a lot more personalized for the patient and for the consumer. And I think that's a big change which we are seeing. Of course, technology is aiding to that. And I was saying, the point of care devices are playing the biggest role in that, right? The patches for continuous glucose monitoring, the other point of care devices which can basically take all your vitals and everything. I think those are things which are redefining in terms of what data is available to you and what you can do with patients in terms of collecting data, acting on it, and creating care plans. And if you see from Portea's perspective, in home care, we have tried to leverage that quite a bit in last couple of years, where we are saying, how can you create personalized plans from elder care to, as Sha was saying, for chronic disease management to basically to personalized medicine actually. So I would say that early days, but very, very exciting. The way you would see Netflix is like totally basically tailored for you, right, on what you really like to see. And healthcare has to go that way because we are all very unique.
Yeah.
Our taste could be similar in entertainment. Our bodies are very different from each other, and that will that's very, very unique. So personalization in healthcare, I think, has a long way to go, but really important steps.
Got it. And Vaibhav, so from Shah, we heard that in US, regulation may not be as ready for personalization, then insurance companies may not be as ready for personalization. So do you think in India also?
I think India's early days, India, what happens, and that's like that's at least my learning in last couple of decades, is that India basically bypasses certain things in the middle. So whatever US learns like in 10 years, 20 years, and we see the end of it, right? So we just basically jump from here to there. Like India moved to fiber. We used to have copper wire cables, right, which used to go to all these buildings. We moved to fiber immediately. We didn't go through any of those in middle technology because we got onto the bandwagon much later. So I would say healthcare also, there's a lot more acceptance of this. And I was saying in India, of course, clinicians have always been the central point. And I think the balance has to come in next 10 to 20 years because patients are important in that sense. So India regulation wise is basically forming our regulations as we speak. I mean, you see all this the healthcare digital mission and all of that which government has launched in last couple of years. I think basis our success Aadhaar, some of these things will basically help us to leapfrog the regulatory approvals and everything in a much faster way. Because need of this is accepted, especially post-COVID. When India got COVID, we realized that we need to work on an infrastructure much more than what we had, right? And using digital and using personalization is the central point, is the key to that. So India will work probably very quick speed to do away with the regulatory requirements or basically get the right regulatory clearances in place.
God, makes sense. So now moving on and focusing on today's topic, Shah, it would be very helpful if you could share some details on some of the key transformational programs that you and your team are driving in Baptist to imbibe personalization in the patient care.
It is clinically driven in that we want to make sure that the providers have all the right tools and technologies that are necessary to be able to provide that type of personalized care for our patients. There is a big element of the data infrastructure and the machine learning infrastructure being able to bring in data from or the medical records for the patients from in sometimes patients have been to other hospitals prior to coming to us and they would bring those records. So being able to put all of that together and making it available for our providers to review them and so that's bringing the data together is a big aspect of providing that. And then there's a number of other things that we do relative to identifying the right patient cohort for things like clinical trials, for instance, which if your case or if your record matches, we have capabilities that are being built that matches patients to clinical trials. Depending on the type of specialty, whether it is cardiology or oncology or any of the other specialties, each of those groups have their own programs, and some of them are relatively unique in nature. So we tend to work along with those physician leaders in many aspects to identify those needs and support them. And then again, a lot of those tend to be digital and data capabilities that support them as they make the right decisions around what is best for their patient's care.
Got it. And I think, Shah, the point that you made, bringing data together, that's something that we have heard from almost every leader in this space. So I can fully understand. Vaibhav, some of the key initiatives that you are driving in your organization in this space.
Sure. So from our perspective, as I was mentioning earlier, from especially post-COVID time, we had basically the slogan, or you can say the vision for the company was to, so we said go digital, go 100. So the whole point was that we should get to 100 cities, and we should be able to have our people on the ground to provide services in 100 cities, and make everything as digital as possible. So, and I think that's something which we have spent a lot of energy and investment in the last couple of years. And today where we stand, of course, we are in more than 100 cities now in terms of on-ground presence and supporting patients. And also our operations have become completely digitalized actually. I think if you ask me, and we are 11th year of this organization, probably this is the biggest transformation we have been able to do, where every single layer of operations is basically digitalized. So the way we run our, the way our clinicians will go to patient homes now, they all carry a mobile app, Android app, and they all basically will, all the patient's vitals are collected using that. All the patient case files, what we create, case history is created using the app. All the interaction with the subject matter experts at the central level will happen with that. So all the clinician operations as well as the patient interaction is happening using the digital technology. And of course, all our branch operations are also run using basically dashboards and everything. So how a branch runs, and it just for you to understand, it's a very basically many to many operations. There are around 5,000 visits a day we are doing in patient homes, and these people are present in multiple cities. And so patients are not in our office because it's not a hospital, and clinicians are not with us. So clinicians going from their homes to patient homes and serving them. So using one technology layer which will bind each of these becomes very important, and that's how you run. So today, for example, a physiotherapist has to come to your house at 10 o'clock in the morning for an appointment. How do I make sure that that person is reaching there? If that person is not reaching there, somebody replacement has to come, because it's a healthcare service. It's not like your food delivery or cab, right? I mean, if one doesn't come, you can take another one, right? But a physiotherapist has to come at 10 o'clock to take care of a back pain. He better turns up at 10 o'clock, right? And if it's not coming, somebody else has to take care of it, right? So to manage thousands of visits every day in that environment, it becomes very important that you use technology, and the day-to-day operations are run using technology. So every single lead from the time it comes to the time it's delivered, medically, operationally, and patient connection wise, everything has to run real time. And that is something which we have been able to achieve in last 2 years. So today, at any point in time, if you have posted a lead, what we call on our website or to our call center, saying that you're looking at a physiotherapist or a nurse or even an ICU setup at home, where that lead is at any stage, at every minute, is known real time to the company across the board today, which was not the case 3 or 4 years back. And that's something which of course we invested in last couple of years, and that is something which has changed the way we operate. So of course it has helped us to, our NPS scores are much better, our patient interactions are much easier, our branches are much more efficiently run, head office is much more efficiently run. So I would say that we have seen the real benefits of deploying a large scale program in last couple of years, and seeing the benefits out of it. So that was of course the big focus area, and that's where we are seeing the results.
Very impressive. And what I hear from you, Vaibhav, is that you have been able to digitalize all these complex operations, which is very impressive. Taking a deep level deeper, what are the challenges that you are facing implementing, executing all these transformational programs, especially focused on people and processes?
Yeah, if you look at the provider ecosystem and the challenges that we face, the biggest one is people, really, the providers. There aren't enough doctors and nurses to take care of the population that we are trying to serve. And it is, with the baby boomer generation needing even more care. The lack of the capacity concerns with respect to providers is taking center stage in not just in the US, but in most Western countries these days. So then the question is, how do we solve for it? It's not like we can turn on the spigot and start getting doctors and nurses, right? It's a profession that takes a very long amount of time for the people to train and practice and be ready to care for patients. So that then leads to the fact that we have to do more with what we have, which is really an efficiency play. So we have to be able to, I think, do a couple of things, which is on the one hand, provide the right level of technology, tooling, support for the providers to be able to do more with, for instance, the amount of administrative work that providers have to do, not just US, again, world over, is quite a bit. You have to listen to the patient, you have to record the condition, you have to diagnose it, you have to also then document all of that in the EMR system. So we have several technologies that are sort of being worked on right now or being implemented right now that allows the physicians or the doctors to just listen to the patient, and the technology does a lot of the administrative work by itself. So that's one big part of how we are going after that. There's also the preventative aspect of it, right? If people don't fall sick, then they don't need as much care. So that's, as a community system, there is an element of that in what we do. But really, it's at this time our focus is doing more with what we have operationally, as well as in terms of supporting the clinical staff with better utilization of their own time when it comes to patient care.
Got it. And Sha, any specific challenge that you may want to call out around processes that you face while implementing all these programs?
The technology aspect of it is, all of these records, especially the patient medical record, needs to get into the EMR system. And those systems, it is a necessity. It is a patient safety issue. So that's not something you can sidestep. You absolutely have to do it. And then the question is, how do you do it best, right? So whether it is ambient listening or those types of things, so we essentially either buy or build those tools that allow providers to take advantage of those tools, and then but that integration or getting the records from an administrative perspective, getting all of the right entries into the EMR system, as well as updating the records, that's one of the bigger time consuming activities, if you will. So that's what we're trying to automate as one of the first things.
Got it. Vaibhav, it would be grateful to hear some of the challenges that you are facing implementing all this.
So from our perspective, one, of course, I'll echo Shah's sentiment. Of course, this what we call caregivers or medical professionals, of course, are in short supply and across the world, and a lot of that is happening in India also now. So when we build our capacity, and of course when we build some of this digitalization, the big reason for that is, of course, for the people, because there are lesser number of people, and of course if the attrition and all happens, the training and retraining, and that becomes like a big challenge in terms of how do you make sure that becomes a way of life, right? So for us it was not the way of life, like say 3 years back. Now it has to become completely the way of life. So a lot of people who are used to using quote unquote legacy systems, right, or using or running it their own way, that changing that across multiple geographies within the country becomes a big challenge, right? I think that's something which has been a big thing for us to overcome, and that has happened once people start seeing results of what the technology can provide them actually. So I mean, once you know that, okay, how you manage X number of employees and what happened with each of the cases or each of the patients yesterday, if that's available at your fingertips tomorrow, which you probably took 2 years to go through Excel and collect data from everybody and then prepare, then you see the immediate impact of that, and then people say, then the aha moments happen. So we had to basically create a lot of aha moments for people by doing internal POCs, where you just show people value of what implementation of technology can do for them. So I would say it has been like a multiple layer kind of implementation for us to do POCs, show value, then do POCs in multiple areas and show value, create role models across the company, right? Saying, oh, Delhi branch has done very well. Delhi branch is 100% digitalized, right? So everybody has to come around and do that. So a lot of those things, a lot of softer aspects, as you will call it, apart from process, because defining process, following a process, all that has been a key part of it, right? But the fact is, I think the people challenges have been the biggest one to create the right momentum within the organization. So I would say that now we are there. In the middle, I had to say one day, saying, look, either guys use this system or I'm taking away everybody to the laptop. There's a date to take away your laptops actually. So you have nothing else but to use your mobile phones and see that work on dashboards, right? And so people knew, okay, July 1st laptops may go away. So then those kind of things have to do along with whatever you are implementing. But I would say people challenges in terms of making sure that they come on board. Internal selling, I think, has been a big thing to work on.
And it's very interesting to observe that the challenges that you have shared are very similar across geographies. So very interesting.
Yeah, we both deal with illnesses and we deal with people.
Yeah, that's ultimately it's all
So
human.
the fundamental problem is same across the geography.
Absolutely true.
So Sha, how do you see AI use cases evolving in future?
AI is one of the tools. It's not the only tool, but obviously with the technology advancing so rapidly, more is now possible with AI. The number one thing it can do for us pretty much immediately is, again, I think you mentioned earlier where healthcare tends to be a laggard when it comes to adopting some of these technologies, any new technology that comes out. But other industries, whether it is retail or financial services, have been using machine learning and AI in operational type of areas or use cases for quite a while now. So those solutions are well established, proven, and the adoption into healthcare is relatively straightforward and easy. Things such as predicting volumes or forecasting any number of things from an operational perspective. So that is definitely one of the things that we've done, and I think a lot of our peers in the industry are doing the same as well, helping operations, hospital operations, as well as operations in general, and administrative functions take advantage of these machine learning and AI capabilities that are proven elsewhere to improve our own efficiency and operations. Now, with generative AI now sort of being maturing and becoming available more broadly, that now allows us to do certain things we couldn't do before. Assisting physicians, there is the administrative side of things that we talked about before, but also, we also talked about the provider capacity issues and so on. So generative AI capabilities are starting to step in and do things like summarization, right? Instead of a physician having to read hundreds of pages of medical record, AI is able to step in and summarize it in a succinct way, where the physician spends 5 minutes or 10 minutes as opposed to 20 or 30 minutes, which then means he or she is able to do meet more patients or see more patients and take care of them. So that side of things, which is leveraging generative AI, is starting to broaden as more and more LLMs and LLM-based capabilities come to play. So it's a really good mix of more traditional machine learning and AI use cases, as well as the newer generative AI type of capabilities.
Awesome. Thank you. Vaibhav, your thoughts, please.
So I tend to agree with Shah. I think the one area where AI is going to help a lot and is already doing is basically in terms of efficiency improvement, whether it's for the providers or for the way we look at data from patients' perspectives. So I would say that efficiency improvement is the single biggest thing, and India will benefit a lot with that, because our ratios of doctor to per 100,000 patients is much lesser compared to worldwide. Even number of beds available per 1,000 patients is probably one of the lowest in the world, right? But using technology, can you just bypass some of those things is something which is there. And I would say that AI and technology both will help in that in a significant manner. And we are seeing some impact of that already. I mean, there are technologies being used already in the hospitals where nurses can basically collect vitals rather than going to the patient bed like 4 times a day or something. They can collect it like with a device. And of course, somebody can analyze that at a back end. So nurses' efficiency in the hospitals in India, I think, has that it's on the path to improve that particular thing. Other areas, diagnostic side, I think again AI will play a significant role. Basically diagnosing the disease. Actually, I think there's like large scale screening programs, those kind of things. Again, AI will help significantly from India's perspective. And third one, of course, as we discussed, I think the topic which we had, saying the personalization of healthcare for patients. I think again that now you'll be able to collect lot more data with point of care devices. With that, you can really create personalized plans, and there again AI will help you in terms of like managing your sugar or managing your BP and things like that. Simple examples I'm taking, but things that with that ability to collect lot more data and ability to mine that data, I think will get you a lot of insights and help patients to basically create personalized plans.
Okay, awesome. And Shah, a follow-up question, especially for you. So what I heard from Vaibhav, especially in the Indian context, that regulators are evolving as the industry is evolving, whereas in US the regulators are a lot more matured in comparison to India. Now with all this AI evolution happening, how do you foresee the role of regulator in all this in US?
Yeah, I think they are starting to step in. So some of these regulations that guide, like for instance, the definition of a medical device, right? A lot of these tools that we talk about are classified as medical device, and I think that regulation came out in the early 2000s. So a lot of that predates the latest developments in this field. I think recently there was an executive order that clarified a number of these types of things. But I think the field is growing so fast. The capabilities are sort of exploding, if you will, week to week, month to month. So there needs to be a very comprehensive look at what's available today, how are they being used, how can they be used going forward, and then put in place a framework that allows people to safely use it, right? Because ultimately that's the goal of a lot of these things, which is patient safety and quality of care. There's a lot more work to be done, and I think there is a lot of that happening right now. And I hope to see, especially later this year, more clarity is coming out of the administration, how these things should be used and can be used, which I think will help bring clarity across the board.
So Shah, how do data and AI consulting firm like Factspan play a role in the transformational digital journey that you are embarking in your organization?
Yeah, there is a lot to do. Healthcare as an industry is catching up. There isn't enough capacity for all of us, meaning as providers, to build all these things ourselves. So then partners such as Factspan step in and fill that gap to a large extent, especially when a certain type of project or initiative is completed successfully at one provider. In many cases, we are able to take advantage of that know-how and that experience in building those types of capabilities and bring it to our system by leveraging partners such as Factspan and others. So I think that's so far that has been a big help for us. Right? Again, we are not a technology company, we are not a digital product company. So our goal is still to run hospitals and care for the patients in our community. So from that naturally means that we don't have all the capacity to go and build all of the different capabilities that we do need. So we are going to have to rely on the partnership ecosystem to bring in a number of these new capabilities. And again, things are growing at a rate that very few people can keep up with. So unless we take advantage of the ecosystem and the partners in it, it's going to be really, really difficult for any of us to truly leverage the power of some of these capabilities.
Good to hear that, Shah. Your thoughts, please, Vaibhav.
From our perspective, I think we are at a stage where leveraging your knowledge, which some of the companies like Factspan bring to the table, will be very powerful. I mean, of course, you have more experience worldwide, so a lot of those trends, a lot of your learnings from other countries could help us as well. I think that's something which is there. But overall, from our perspective, we are at just probably the very early stage of our of data analytics journey actually. So digitalization has happened. Of course, a lot more data is getting collected. Clean data is getting collected, quote unquote, as my CTO says. and that what we do with that data. So we know what business problems to solve now, what problems to solve for the patient, how to leverage data effectively to solve those problems. I think we could do a lot with the help from providers like yourselves. I would say early stage for us, but very promising, and we look forward to benefiting from companies like Factspan.
Thank you, Shah. Thank you, Vaibhav, for sharing all these insights. It is always a pleasure to talk to both of you, especially on a topic like data and AI, which is so close to the Factspan community. Thank you, audience, for tuning in. I hope you found the conversation engaging, insightful, and informative. Feel free to tune in to our feed to hear more similar conversations. Thank you. See you soon.